Hi everyone, welcome to Gameplay Grit, where determination is your strongest asset. I'm GOG, and today we're going to go over Perforce P4V. Perforce is our source control. It is the industry standard source control which we use to collaborate projects between developers. So AAA studios to indie game studios use this. This is the key source control that you're pretty much going to be encountering through most of the video game industry. It is a learning curve because when you first see Perforce, it can be intimidating knowing that that's the entire project. Everybody's working on this and you don't want to be the one messing it up. So it's important that you know right practices and the right steps to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to be learning tips, best practices, a lot of important things that I've learned and encountered throughout the years of working with Perforce, and you're going to be gaining that knowledge. We're going to be going through all the steps that I mentioned, which is commit, push, revert, and I'll be showing you different ways on how to do it and the best ways to approach to doing so. Please hit like and subscribe to see more of these videos, and you can always catch me on Twitch, where I am Star Fallen Mage, and you can see me and interact and talk to me about your projects or ask me questions or have some fun on the channel. All right, let's begin. So the first thing we're going to have to do is download Perforce. So I already have it queued up. Download P4V. So we Google search that. And we're going to select download software Perforce. Now in this page, we're going to navigate to Helix Visual Client P4V. We're going to scroll down and select the family. I'm on Windows. I'm going to then select x64, and it's going to automate the version that we need. It's going to be always the latest. Then we hit download, and it takes a couple of minutes for it to download, and we'll come back when it's complete. Now that it's done downloading, let's go ahead and install it. So all these checks are fine. We're going to hit next. The default server, user, and application is fine. We're going to change that later. Hit next. We're going to install. We're going to hit exit, and it's going to automatically launch P4V. So you should get a dialog window that looks like this. Alright, we're going to be filling this in. By default, the server information is going to be filled in. We're just going to go and delete that. We're going to be connecting to whatever your studio Perforce server IP address is. You can get this information from a local colleague or anyone who has access to the project who is already connected to Perforce should be able to give you this information. We're going to be using this IP address. It's something we used for the Global Game Jam. And as for users go, you can either create a new user or you'll be given a user. Depending on the size of the studio, they'll let you know if you can create one. There are some limitations to how many users you can have for Perforce. So again, depending on the size of the studio, you should be able to either create one, or again, you would be given a username. And then the next step is we're going to be creating a new workspace. So we're going to hit new, and we're going to be populating this information from top to bottom. Alright, we're going to be filling out the workspace name. The workspace name should reflect the current workspace project. In this case, we're going to go and delete the default the default workspace name that Perforce gives us, and we're going to replace it with our own. So again, it should reflect the current workspace project that you're working under. In this case, it's going to be the Global Game Jam. Now, this is something to get a good habit of is by putting in your initials in first, then you put in the name of the project, GGJ underscore 2021. And this part's completely optional. This actually helps me differentiate the multiple workspaces I use for the same username. So in this case, I'm gonna put extra because I've been using multiple workspaces under the same username. All right, now that we have our workspace name created, we're gonna move on to the Workspace Route. This is where the project's gonna live. So we're gonna hit Browse. We're never gonna use the default place where Perforce puts it in. It places it where we installed the project. So go ahead and browse. Now, depending on your studio, they already should have a place where all the projects should reside in. And if not, then this is another good habit to do is by creating a folder called projects under as close to the drive as possible. So in this case, it's going to be G projects, and one more folder in for the name of the project, and it's going to be GGJ underscore 2021. And this is where all your Perforce projects are going to be being located under projects. Again, one more time, the studio should already have a place where all the projects should be placed. I actually wouldn't be surprised if it is actually letter of the drive and then the name of the projects, just to keep it simple. So we're gonna hit that. We're in the folder that we just created and hit select folder. All right, now that we have our workspace name and workspace route filled out, last thing we're gonna do is the stream. So we're gonna hit browse, and in here you would see a collection of all the projects that your studio has been working under, and we're just gonna locate the project that we're gonna be working under, and it's gonna be the Global Game Jam 2021. Again, this usually would be heavily populated depending on the studio's history of projects. We're gonna hit OK, and there's a couple of things that we're gonna be doing extra. So we're gonna go to the Advanced tab before we hit OK. We're going to check on RMDR, delete workspaces directory when empty, and on submit all selected files. We're gonna change that to revert unchanged files. So this case, if we have a lot of files that we didn't really modify in our pending tab, they're just going to revert, as opposed to just submitting it, and maybe an unnecessary submit. And then we hit OK. All right, cool. Perforce is open. It says, would you honestly check for new versions of Perforce? We always hit no. Contribute, you hit no or yes, doesn't matter. All right, so let's look at what we have here. All right, so we have our depot, which has all this content in here, and this is the directory that we chose. So the next thing is that we're going to select the root folder and get latest, and give it a moment, and perfect, we're starting to copy all the files. So all this eventually is going to look like this right here. So this is a reflection of the depot, and workspace tab is a reflection of our local workspace, which means our local computer. And we're gonna start seeing this again. Depending on the size of the project, it can take hours, can take a few minutes, can even take a full day just to get latest. So it really depends on the size of the project. And we're going to come back when this is complete. Great. Now that we have our project fully downloaded, let's take a look at the files. So one we have is source assets. There's nothing here at the moment, but generally the case would be that this would contain all the raw files, such as raw Photoshop files, raw Maya files, and audio files. All right, next we look at the main project, GGJ underscore 2021, and we already see that it is a U project, so this is an Unreal based project. All right, one of the first things that we're going to also have to do to get fully set up is adding some extra tabs. We're going to be adding in a pending change list if one isn't there already, and a history tab. All right, so starting with the pending tab, this is where anything that we check out gets deposited here. For example, let's say this U project here, I want to check it out. It usually goes into default. Hit OK, and there it goes. It shows that I have this checked out. Right now I don't want to necessarily do anything with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit revert. So it just puts it back. All right, let's say I want to add something in manually through Perforce instead of going through some other third-party application. So I hit Control-Shift-S, and that takes me into the Windows Explorer of this. And let's say I want to add something in here, and for time's sakes, we're going to just add a text document, something simple. We're going to put this is mine to add, and I go back into Perforce, and if I hit refresh, I should see this, and it doesn't necessarily have like a green icon or anything. It's kind of just white. So I can right click here and mark for add. It goes into the default pending change list. Okay, so now that we have this in our pending tab, let's go and add this to the depot. We just double click the default. We're going to put our initials, and then we're just gonna put a description, adding in notepad doc. Go and submit. Perfect. Now, as you can see, now it's no longer white, it's green. It's part of the depot. We go back here, go to the depot tab, and it's there. It's 1 for 1. All right, so I'm going to show you how to check out something through Perforce in the manual way. We're going to click on the item that we want to manipulate. Right now, we're going to select the text document we just made. We're just going to hit checkout. It's going to go to the select pending change list, and then we're able to modify it. We're going to double click this, and we're just going to add some content in here to just change the this is now changed. Perfect. We hit save, we close this, and now it immediately is turned itself to blue, saying, hey, that this item has been changed. We're gonna submit this, put in our initials, and we'll write updated. This is mine to add doc. Cool. So whoever gets latest now should be able to get that change, and this is in the depot tab, and it should reflect, hey, this is 2 of 2. All right. One important tab is the history tab. What it does is just shows the history log of every file that was ever created. In this case, the one that we just created was 1 of 2. It says, hey, this was added, this was updated, and if we go along through other assets, it shows, hey, the same thing. Hey, when this was added, and all the times that this was updated. Now, if you want to delete something, you just click on the item that you want to delete. Hit the delete button there. It goes into default changing pending list. There it is. Hey, marked with an X now. We're gonna write deleting this is doc. Perfect. So that will now reflect to everyone's change list, and it's also gone on the depot. Quick pro tip: if you don't know what Unreal version you need for your U project, go and open a Show and Explorer, which is Control-Shift-S. Right-click the U project, edit with Notepad++ or edit with Notepad, and at the very top left, you'll find the engine association, and this one's 4.25. Great, now that we have Unreal open, the next thing we want to do is fill out the source control. So let's go and click on source control, open up that drop down menu. We're going to connect to source control, and the provider is going to be Perforce. Alright, we're going to fill in this information here. Again, you can find this information at the top left here. I have it written down somewhere on the side. The username, we have ggj.j underscore user, and once we have our username filled out, usually it does find our workspace, available workspace. If not, go ahead and just type that in there. Again, you can find this information in the top left space of Perforce, the IP address and workspace name. So once we do that, we hit accept settings, and connection to source control is successful, and we should see the and this enabled. Okay, great. Now that we have our source control all set up through Unreal, we're gonna go and modify a file and check it out. So we're gonna open up this 2D side scroller character, and we're gonna change something about it. Let's go and unpin this, and it already noticed, hey, this needs to be checked out. So the moment I hit save, a pop-up will say, hey, do I want to continue editing this file? And it's gonna ask us to check it out. So we're gonna hit checkout selected, and we're gonna go back to the, oh yeah, that's compile error. Let's go and save this because we don't want that. Going back to the content browser, we're gonna see, hey, that there's actually a red check mark on it, saying this indicates, hey, we actually have this file checked out, and to other developers, it's gonna look blue, and it's gonna indicate to them saying, hey, this asset is checked out by another user, don't modify it. Until we check it in. And in that case, once we check it in, there'll be like a yellow warning sign saying, hey, they don't have latest. Go and close Unreal and get latest. So once we have this checked out and we're done modifying it, let's just say, hey, we're gonna add a custom event. Add custom event. Saying something, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, we're done adding this event. We're going to right click the asset and hit check in. It's going to ask us to save it. Save it first. We're going to put our initials and add some sort of description and say, adding in custom event, and hit submit. Cool. It's submitted through Unreal Editor, and if other developers would see this again, they'll have a warning saying, hey, you have to go get latest. Now, something that happens quite often is when two developers are actually working on the same file. It does happen, not often, but in this case, you just have to communicate to the other developer on, who's going to lose work. And let's say it's you, for instance, you did some work, but it can be easily done again, while the other developer has done so much to it that it's okay if you just lost this, minuscule amount of work. So at that moment, you would want to click on the asset that is in conflict, that where you right click it and actually hit revert. So you can do this in the Unreal Editor, and you can also do this through Perforce. It's going to tell you which asset you're reverting. Yes, we're going to revert this asset. So it's pretty much saying, hey, we don't have this checked out anymore, and I actually rolled back to what was currently back in the depot, and then that other person will just check it in. You get latest, and you just communicate that way if you ever need to revert an asset. Alright, now I'm going to show you on how to revert the asset through Perforce. So if I have it checked out through Unreal, it automatically sets it to the pending default tab through Perforce. We're going to show in Explorer, get the directory, open up Perforce, and navigate to the directory that we're looking for. Okay, so here's the character. It's automatically in the pending tab, and I want to revert it. You can right click it here or right click it here, doesn't really matter, and just hit revert. So it's no longer in the pending tab. So through Unreal, we have a lot of quick accessible easy tools, such as checking out, refreshing, you can see the history, and if it gets a depot. Unreal is great through checking stuff out and submitting it through Unreal Editor. However, I do not recommend actually getting latest on the entire project when Unreal Editor is open, which means going through having Unreal Editor open, right-clicking the project, the root directory, and getting latest. You'll be getting so many assets in here that you may not know kind of what you're getting, and you don't want to get new binary files while Unreal Editor is open. There'll be some conflicts. So best practice is actually closing Unreal, and then getting latest. It's the safest way to ensure that you're working on the latest asset and there's no conflicts. All right, one last tip before I let you go, to give you a better ease of life, is that I strongly recommend to actually pin the taskbar, because this is one of the applications that you're going to use so much and so often in your career that you need to have it handy at all times. This is you just need that accessibility just to go, and you'll find that this little trick will save you a lot of time in the long run. Thank you for watching, and this has been your Gameplay Grit.